Hello! In this episode of Coding Out Loud, we begin to make a generative art piece inspired by the work of Yayoi Kusama. Her piece, All the Eternal Love I Have for the Pumpkins, is a mirror room filled with glowing pumpkin sculptures in yellow and black polka dots. Reflections on the walls and ceiling make the pumpkins look like they go on forever. The image of Kusama's installation we're working off of is full of repeating patterns, which we thought would mesh well with the techniques of generative art. We begin our pair programming by aiming to mimic a single pumpkin from Kusama's work, but in 2D and with ggplot2. We explore the ggforce package as an extension of ggplot2 in order to plot circles. Then we build a data frame with the location and size of the circles we envision. We work iteratively with functions to create our data in a way that echoes the organic swells of the piece, relating the radii of our circles to their positions on the x and y axes. We also add a background and some of Kusama's iconic yellow color from the original. If you'd like to code along with us, we start with the R Markdown file called kusama.rmd in the project repository and go from there. You might use it as a kind of worksheet to keep track of the objectives and your progress. Depending on your comfort level in R, feel free to try creating something alone first and come back to see how we approached it. There are many ways we could have tackled this particular challenge. This video includes just one. 1 hour is not really long enough to come up with a perfect final product. Just join us if you want to get started and let your interest propel you to turn your own code or the code we'll share into whatever you like afterwards. This is a great place to learn where we, as fans of generative art, might learn how to work through the early stages of a piece. We had fun and hope you will too.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Coding Out Loud. I am Mina Chetinkaya-Randell. I'm a professor at Duke University, and joining me today is Lily Clark. Lily, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Thanks. Hi, I'm Lily. I'm a senior at Duke studying statistical science and documentary studies, and I'm really excited for today.
Yeah, so Lily was in my data visualization course last semester, and we had lots of fun creating lots and lots of visualizations. And one of the things that she was interested in was creating kind of more artistic pieces with R. So that's what we're going to try our hand at today. So our goal for the day, let's start with that, and then I'll give you all some links that might be useful, is to try to create an image that's inspired by this one that you are seeing. Going to create it ourselves, but there's an R Markdown file here that you can download that will get you a copy of the image that we're trying to recreate as well, and a bit of scaffolding for you to get started with. But before we get into coding, maybe Lily can tell us a little bit about what inspired her inspiration.
Yeah, so I've always been really interested in art history, and last semester in Mina's class, I was able to create data and kind of imitate a piece by Kandinsky, and my other classmates did really cool imitations and versions of other famous historical art pieces as well. And so I just find it really fun to find a way to take all of this visual information and put it into numbers in R, and then use ggplot somehow to make it look cool. So
yeah,
and I love Kusama.
And do you want to
both of us do. So
yes, and do you want to tell us a bit about this particular piece as well, maybe?
So I believe I have not seen this piece in person, but it looks like it's one of her infinity rooms. So there are a certain number of pumpkins physically in the space, but then on every wall and the ceiling there are mirrors, and so it just looks like it continues forever. She uses pumpkins a lot in her sculptures and installations.
Right. So the artist's name is Kusama. And so if you're interested in her work and kind of Google it, you'll run into lots and lots of these polka dots. I actually haven't seen this in person myself either. But our goal today is to create something inspired by this. So I think to claim that we're going to be able to recreate this in 1 hour would be way too ambitious. And that's certainly not the goal. But the goal is to kind of start reasoning around kind of this piece. And so I was thinking the first place that we might start with is, let's make the polka dot. Let's make a circle. Let's make it black. And then maybe let's see how we can repeat that circle in some way. and get going from there. It seems like when I look at this, I'm thinking like circles, then circles repeated to make a pumpkin, then pumpkins repeated, and then some color, and then some reflections. So I doubt we're going to be able to get through all of those stages. So what I thought that we might try to tackle, and we'll see if we get through how much of it we get through, is to draw a circle, then place many circles in a line, because to me kind of these look like they're in a line, although it's like a curved line, not a straight line. Draw a pumpkin made of circles, and then repeat these pumpkins and kind of maybe add the background to bring the yellow into the mix as well. Does that sound like a good plan to you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we're going to start by drawing a circle. How do we draw a circle in R? How would you approach this?
So we're going to have to manufacture some kind of data to use in our ggplot object.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I have used Circle from ggforce, which is a package. I don't know if we've loaded that yet, but maybe we can look that up.
Yeah, so Circle ggforce. Let's take a look. Circles based on center and radius. Hey, that sounds pretty straightforward. So ggforce package kind of provides, it says aimed at providing missing functionality to ggplot2. So it's a good place to look if you're like looking for a particular geom and you can't find it in ggplot, or it seems overly tedious to try to get it to work. So we're going to use the geom circle here. You can see there's like a bunch of other options as well. And generally what I like to do when I am kind of trying to create something to see if something is going to work for me, let's take a look at the examples. Like this looks pretty good to me, right, as a starting point. So let's copy this and just put it here. Let's load the packages. So I have the tidyverse and ggforce loaded. And let's make this plot. I am going to close out of the inline output, click on the gear icon here and say chunk output in console. I just don't like it when they appear in my documents for some reason. So let's try this. All right, what are we seeing here? There's actually two plots here. So we have a data set that is 9 rows, 3 variables, an X, a Y, and an R. And what do the X and the Y stand for here? So are those like they're the X and Y coordinates, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
And then R is the radius. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And up at the top it said by center and radius, so they're the X and Y coordinates of the middle of our circle.
The center. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we have that data frame. Mm-hmm. Let's make the circles, and they look like ellipses. If you do chord fixed, then you get the circles. So I think we're going to want ours to look like circles, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, there is a little bit of distortion. Like some of them look like ellipses in the photograph, but that's because it's 3D and we're making this in 2D. Yeah. So, right. So I think we should stick with chord fixed.
Okay. Yeah, let's stick with that. Maybe we'll move the circles around, but yeah, thinking about distortion right now is distorting my brain. Yeah. Okay, we don't want this beautiful ggplot2 blue. We want our circles to be black. So let's do fill black. Okay, that gets rid of the and let's just maybe make one circle. What do you say? For the time being, let's draw a single circle.
We could even, since they've kind of made some lines, maybe we know that we could use that in our next step once we want to return to that.
That's right. And when we do place many circles in a line. So how about I copy this here and keep a copy of it down there. This is really a single circle at 1, 1 with a radius of 1. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we're going to work off of this. So now let's try this mini circles in a line business. But I don't really, these are 9 circles in a, what happened here? Oh, it should say circles. 9 circles, or no, 3 circles in a line like this. How would we make these same size to begin with?
So we're going to have to look at the radius argument. And right now it's giving us a series of numbers and a sequence from 1 to 1. But we want that all to be the same. So I think we could just use rep or, exactly.
So let's try this. And I think this has 9 observations, but it's overlapping them because we have the same x coordinate for all of them. So I am just going to make 3 circles to begin with. Or maybe we can do 9 circles, I mean. That's fine.
There's quite a few in a row.
Right. Oh no. Rep 1 9 times. Work. And maybe we just want them to be a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Okay, so something like this.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah. So obviously, ultimately, we're not going to want this stuff that's in the background, right?
There's we could use a theme for that.
Right.
Yeah, once we fix that. Theme void should just take everything right away.
Right, there we go. So I'm thinking that theme void is ultimately something we're definitely going to want to use. But maybe as we're making these circles and trying to make them look like the layout over here, we may want to keep those identifiers, like the axis labels and stuff, just in case. Because like being able to think about where things should move, it's helpful to have the axis lines.
Yeah, I agree.
So now let's assume that these 9 circles, we want them to be a little bit separate from each other. So should I make them a bit smaller? Maybe.
Yeah, or maybe we could increase the distance between the y's so we don't get into lots of fractions.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Why don't we, in fact, make these each one, and then let's increase the distance. So maybe I can write a sequence from 1 to, so if I want 9 of them.
You could just you could specify the length out. You could do 1 to 20, and then instead of setting the interval between.
There we go. Okay.
Nice.
So let's say that what we're seeing here is ultimately going to be kind of this, okay? Like the big one here. So there are a few things we want. We want it to curve, and we want the circles to get smaller as we get to the ends.
Yeah. My first thought when looking at these curves is like, I'm trying to think of equations that I learned in algebra that look a little bit like that on a graph, So like, not a parabola, probably. I mean, some of them are like kind of just one-sided curve, but some of them like they squiggle back and forth. So maybe some kind of like x cubed type situation. Yeah. Or you could probably also do like a sine wave if you wanted to do that, but yeah.
Right, because that would be coming back and forth. Okay, so which one do you want to start with? What should be the first like kind of distortion we add to this line, so that we can kind of jitter them away a little bit?
So we're gonna need to add that to the x coordinates. because the
Right.
y's can stay the same. So we
Right.
can move data frame. And I don't know, do you want to, I mean, we could do a sine wave, we could do x cubed, or start with like one of the edge ones and just make it like a parabola. I don't know if you have a preference.
Yeah. So my first instinct is to say, can I like manually move them around? Just because
Ooh.
so what if we did something like, I'll call this X1. So
Mhm.
maybe we can do something like give me a sequence from, I don't know, -5 to 5, length out 9.
Okay.
So then what happens if I do this? That's like
It,
somewhat getting there, but not
yeah.
really. Um, some of it might also be because of the sizing. Like the middle ones, what if the middle ones were bigger and the end ones were smaller?
We could start with the messing with radius for sure.
Mm-hmm. So let's try that. So these are all now the same. So what I want is a sequence of radii, I guess, where the ends are smaller and roughly the same, and the middle is bigger. And I want 9 of those.
Yeah.
What would be a
I
good way of doing that?
Well, I think maybe I'm just a little bit too stuck on quadratics right now, but
No, let's
definitely
go for
picturing
it.
like parabolas again, like
Mm-hmm.
the absolute values are going to increase in the middle and
Yeah, okay.
then decrease. So if we like, for example, I mean, but another thing you could do, wait, maybe this is the same thing, but making the radius a function of the y value, right? Because we want it to
Right.
change based off
Yeah. Yeah.
how
Yeah.
high
I
up
think that
or
makes
low it
sense.
is.
Okay. So we want it to be here, let's make these X and Y to begin with. Or maybe I'll make these X1. This is X2. This is the
Okay.
first Y. And I'll just like keep track of it in terms of the things we tried. Um, our first R1 was a 1. They were all the same. And now let's try something else. R2 can be some function of Y, right? Some f
Yeah.
of Y. So what sort of a function of Y do we want to try first?
Could we set it up as a parabola, like a function of y squared? Do we want to just
Mm-hmm.
put y squared in and see what that looks like and then
Yeah, sure. That sounds good. So we have, uh, um, why not? Let's see. Our, I'm going to try x2. And we only have 9. Oh, because it's y1. That's right.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, oh, we're probably not going to change our y's, right? Oh, we can keep that. It's still complaining. Why are you complaining? Oh,
Um
how about we make these as a tibble?
okay.
Then it knows to use. So I think what was happening is that, oh, that's great. It didn't know to use a variable that you were constructing along the way. That's why it was complaining at me. And I think when you
uh,
create it as a tibble, it knows to use the ones that are constructed along the way. So now
that
that
makes
this
sense.
happened, I have no idea why. So I think there are a couple things we can do. How about we get rid of, or can we
Yeah.
make it in like an alpha
I think
and then
also
get
we
rid
could
of the
bring
thing
our
void?
grid lines back.
Okay, so they're like all on top of each other. That's why this is happening.
Hmm.
Well, not
Maybe
necessarily all, because
yeah. I think what's happened is our radiuses are so huge
yeah,
compared to our y
Yeah,
values, that it just makes it
yeah,
look like they're all in the same place.
right. That's absolutely true. Yeah, you're right. Look at the grid lines are helping here. So now what we want to do is we want to like using it as a function of y is clearly working, but we need it to be smarter about what sort of function of y we're using. So
Yeah.
do we want to maybe like divide these by something to make them smaller? What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that. I wonder if, like, okay, this might reverse the effect, but if we made the y's all between 0 and 1, I just know
Mm-hmm.
that squaring them isn't going to make them go crazy.
Oh, you're right. You're
So,
right. Absolutely. Yes. So let's try that. There we go.
okay.
So now we have, and shall we make these between a smaller range as well so they don't seem so.
I think so. And looking at this right now, I think we want them to be biggest in the middle and smaller on
Mm-hmm.
both the edges. So we might have to shift our y range, because I
Ah,
think we're just getting the curve up part of the
yeah. So what
parabola.
about we do -1 to 1?
Yeah.
Now we just need it to be the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so maybe just a minus. No, that didn't do
Or
anything.
maybe,
Because a
what if we tried
radius can't be minus,
y to the
obviously.
-2? Would that
Yeah.
work? Okay, I think
No.
maybe now our range is a problem again.
Yeah, maybe our range is so we have our y's from -1 to 1, our x's from -1 to 1. Um, shall we change our y's to be
Oh,
something else?
I think so. Because now that we've inverted, now that it's y to the -2, those are going
Oh
to end up
yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
So do we need to make the y's bigger again? um,
Yeah, I don't know. So let's see. So we want to try to see. I think we want some of them to be negative and some of them to be positive. But what if we had, um, like, what if instead of doing this, right, or putting a negative here, which is not going to work because you can't have a negative radius,
mhm.
but maybe we like add a constant to it or something to make it bigger ultimately. Something like
Yeah.
this. I don't know. 100 might be too much.
Hmm.
That doesn't seem right. Put it a
What
smaller
if,
one. Oh, there we go. Something is happening.
yeah, that does look like it's maybe giving us. I like the way that looks right now.
I know. Yeah, yeah. Let's make them smaller. Divide by something. There we
Oh,
go.
that looks great.
Okay, so now they're touching. Divide by something bigger. Make the radii smaller.
That looks good.
Um, okay, so maybe that is, and then let's get rid of this alpha now that we can see where things are. Okay. So this compared to the image, what are some ways we think? Like, I just feel like it's so at a 45-degree angle that it's driving me nuts. um, I think that's because our x's and y's are right now on the same range, and maybe we want our x's in a smaller range.
Okay, yes, I agree.
So let's make our x's in a smaller range than the
Let's
y's. What
cut
is
it
that?
in half.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe we divide by a bigger number.
Now it's looking very tilted to me again.
Yeah.
Like maybe we can make the X range just a little bit smaller. Like I'm looking at
Yeah.
the string of dots in the middle pumpkin that's
Mm-hmm.
like cutting right
You're
there.
right. Okay. That
I
maybe
like that.
looks better. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like we want to add maybe some sort of a um so this is I'm still like not seeing an S shape. I suppose I'm seeing more of like S shapes on there. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a bad starting point
No.
for one of
We
these. So what if we wanted to do, yeah, go ahead.
no, we could just like one try, see how it goes. Put for our let's see, our make our X coordinates a sine function of our Y. So if you move the X's, we'd have to
Mm-hmm.
define them after we make the Y's.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's try a
so if
new
you move
X,
that
you're saying.
down, yeah, X3, and just
Mm-hmm.
like maybe just literally say sine Y
Yeah, let's
and
see.
see how it goes.
Okay. Okay. I can maybe I can see it. What
I
would
think
allow
what
us
we
to
have to do.
squish those? Divide?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
What if we divide by 5? Yeah, there we go. Maybe that's
it's
too
got a little
much
bit
for
of it.
students. Yeah, I think so too. I think it has a bit of that curve, more so than when we had um like x2 here. Those were more
Yeah,
in a straight line, so I think that works.
it's like a
Okay.
subtle shift, but I think it looks good.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Um, all right, then we kind of want more of these next to each other, almost, right?
Yeah. Could we look back up at the photo again?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was noticing it looks like some of the ones that are next to each other, the I don't know if this is just me, but the radii look more constant for the
You're
smaller
right.
ones.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like this one, if this one was the one that we were making, let me see if I can like mark it. Um, like this one over here is more constant, right? This next one is more
Yeah.
constant, it looks like. So we could try that. We could shift them, like maybe subtract something on the x-axis, but then keep
Hmm.
the radius constant right next to
Yeah,
it.
I think so.
Okay. So so we're gonna add another layer. How about we do, okay, what happens if I do this? Subtract one. One maybe too much. 5. I do.
We're really getting
And
into
then
decimals now.
yes, again. Um,
Oh,
well,
okay.
we just want that to be a smaller number, huh?
Yeah, point. Yeah, two. That looks good.
And why don't we do this? X4 is X3 minus 0.5. So terrible naming structure. Am I correct? Why are you not like, oh, R1? So another thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear my environment because I created a bunch of random stuff up until this point, and
Hmm.
sometimes like my code is running just because I had randomly created something before, not because I intended it. I'd rather it give me a error. Um, okay, so those are more constant, but they should be close to the smaller circles, right? Not size wise, not the
Yeah,
bigger ones.
yeah, they should be.
Okay.
That
Um,
looks that looks good to me.
Yeah. So we have one next to it there, and maybe it looks like we can put one on the other side.
Yeah. Just
We just like take the same
make a
and
new like
yeah.
X5,
Mm-hmm.
but shift it to the right. So add that same amount.
Okay. Okay. So we are making progress.
Yeah.
What other things do we want to capture from this that make it start to look like this pumpkin shape like thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to decide because there's all these places where it kind of like pinches in and swells.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking like it would be great if we could taper all the strings of circles together at the top in terms of
Right.
and at the bottom maybe. So bring their x coordinates closer together. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
think how we would do that.
So what if we just started by moving? So here's what I'm going to do. Let's do the middle ones. I'm going to leave black, and I'm just going to pick some ugly colors to make the other ones, just so we can see which ones they are as we move them around. Um, so what if the top red one we moved closer to the black, but only the top one?
Okay. Yes.
Does that make sense?
So, yeah, I think we can go in and maybe instead of like we have created our data in this first step,
Mm-hmm.
we're calling it
Mm-hmm.
circles, the data frame. So we could just
Mm-hmm.
go in and kind of manually change that one, like do a mutate or something. Or
Oh
we
yeah.
could change the function that we have that's creating our x coordinates. But that
Yeah.
strikes me as like a little bit more complicated, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we can just so do we want to give these like a row number or something so we can because if we are going to do a mutate, we are going to want to be able to identify these
Yeah.
circles. So how
Hmm.
about we add an ID, and that can be, how many did we have? 9?
We have 9. Yeah. So 1
1
to
to
9.
9. So that our circles data frame has this ID variable. I should probably put that at the beginning. Just
Yeah.
generally, that's where an ID variable would go, I guess. Um, okay, let's try that again. So that we can say if ID is 1, do something, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
And
do
can we
it.
just check? Well, actually, let's just try it. But our ID ones may or may not be at the top or at the bottom, but
Oh, you're
like of
right.
our plot.
Yeah, you're
So,
right.
or
I
they've
guess
got
another way we
negative
can do
y.
is if y is equal to the maximum of y, might be another
Hmm.
way we do a if else statement.
That could be good for making this like easier to repeat, make generative in the future.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to mutate our how about we give some good better names now. So the first layer was, we called it x3, right? That's the one that we have in the middle. I'm going to call that
Yeah.
x center.
Okay.
Instead of x3, I want to call that x center so we know. And then
Oh, you've got a duplicated
oh,
X. Yeah.
there we go. And then we can do center minus 1, 2, 3, and then plus 1, 2, 3 as we go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this is center M1 for minus 1. And this is center plus 1. So going in either direction.
Yeah.
So let's make sure I didn't. Okay, so now we can like mutate things. So we're saying that we want to mutate the x coordinate of center -1.
Yeah.
And how do we want to? So how do we determine how we mutate it?
So in this case, I'm thinking, well, we want to shift it to the right, closer to X center.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the simplest way to do that would be to just add a small amount to it, but we could
Mm-hmm.
also make it like say the average or the mean of the X coordinate for the center and its
Oh,
original
I see.
self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's say we're gonna only move one of the points for now. So if we can write it as an if else statement to identify this top point if that's the y. It's a
Okay.
y, right?
If
Yeah. If
yeah.
y equals max y,
Mhm.
then we want it to be the old value plus something, let's say, plus 0.1.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just leave it as the old value. Let's see what this
Mhm.
does. Okay, so that makes it get close to it. And really,
Okay.
we want that for the bottom too, right?
Mhm.
So, or if y is equal to the min of y, won't that do it? Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
So now those got tapered. And then we can do this similar thing for the center plus one.
Yeah, just copy paste and then we're going to want to change it to be minus a
Oh,
value.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And now we can
Okay.
get rid of these ugly colors. Okay. So
What do you
now
think?
I think we're getting there. How about we try to add one more next to them to try to make this more like a circular shape overall, like pumpkinish shape. And then maybe we can try to tackle the background because right now we don't have any of that yellow represented here.
Yeah. So when you say we're adding one more, do you mean we're going to like copy this whole unit or add
No, like add one more, oh, whoops, like one more layer of polka dots on either
Okay.
side. So we can do center
Okay.
-2 and center +2.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And do we want those, let's take a look, to be equal size circles or do we want those to be varying size circles?
Hmm. Well, okay, if we want to try something new, it does also look
Mm-hmm.
to me like some of the smaller circle lines, the radius starts off small and then just gets a little bit bigger as as it
Oh,
as the
yeah.
y value gets smaller. So it could be fun to do that. I like the size variety. So either
Yeah.
I think we should
Yeah.
do that or we could keep
Yeah.
with the kind of radius thing we have devised already.
No, I think we can try that. So let's give that a try. So what we want to do is as the y gets close to the minimum or the maximum, we want to reduce the r.
Yeah, I think as I'm picturing as the y gets close to just its minimum, like one way, um,
Mm-hmm.
the r, the radius would increase.
Oh, at the very bottom.
Yeah, I think it's different for some of these. Right now, the
Yeah.
one that I'm looking at is so there's the center one and then scooch left two or something. There's
Like this
that.
one.
Oh no,
Oh,
sorry.
looks like
Same
we.
pumpkin.
Uh-huh.
Just two strings of polka dots left of the kind of center one that we were looking at.
Okay. Oh, say so. Like maybe over here?
Yeah, that's the one that
Okay.
I was
Okay.
looking at.
Yeah. So at the bottom, we want to reduce the radius. All right. So do we want to do it in one of our existing string of dots, or do we want to do it with the next line of dots?
Since we want to add the next line anyway, how about
Yeah.
let's just add that one and
Yeah.
see what it looks like.
Yeah. So how about we do, I'll create a new one that is basically the same as the old one to begin with. Oh no, we need to move the x values a little bit anyway, don't we? First of all,
Yeah, we do.
so
New.
0.25. We'll move it
Mm-hmm.
0.25 more, and then what we want to do is the r for this. So this is r of center minus 2 is going to be, I've been using R1 as the constant, but we don't want it to be just R1, right? We want it to be with the
With a
modification of the
little bit of
bottom.
a, yeah.
Okay,
So,
so maybe borrow this if else statement and work off of that. So if y is the minimum,
mhm.
or do we want it to be if y is less than some number?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking maybe we could do a function again of
Yeah, okay.
y. So we don't have to
Mm-hmm.
set it up as like a binary with two choices. And
Yeah,
instead,
yeah.
we can say the radius, it could be, let's see, so our y's go from -1 to 1. And
Mm-hmm.
as the y's get more negative, we want the radius to be larger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to think what function that would be right now. I mean, it can be a linear function of y for sure.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think
yeah.
what the right parameters would be.
So how about we start with this? Let's make it just y, which we know is not going to be the case.
Yeah.
And let's make those red dots so they're like clear which ones we're talking about. The x for this is going to be -2, and the radius for this is going to be this. So let's just see like what this looks like. Yeah, that looks crazy.
Okay. It does
Um,
look crazy.
um, let's divide it by 10 and try again. Okay. So now it's kind of the opposite of what we wanted almost, right?
Yeah. I think
Um,
maybe if we just shift, so if we do y plus 1
mhm,
divided by 10, yeah,
mhm.
it's going to be crazy large again. But that way we should get rid of our negative values that are
Yeah.
what's giving it
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, getting there. So we just
Okay.
need to divide by a bigger number, maybe?
Yeah. There we go. I think that looks
What do you
fine. And
think?
then maybe the bottom ones are too small.
Yeah.
Um,
So maybe we could increase, so y plus 2. Can we try that?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then let's divide it by a slightly bigger number. I think that looks good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we can do the shifting again, though, right? For the
Yes.
bottom red point, I feel like it would be better if it was closer to the. And
Hmm.
actually, it's almost like it would be better if it was like here in the middle.
I know. I mean, we could shift both its x and y
Yeah.
coordinate.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how about we do? So, this is going to have a new, obviously, getting it to be almost too much hard coding it, but That's okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, we have limited time and we're trying to develop. So I'm going to leave this as y first so that I get my code working with the plotting. And then we can add this if else statement
Mm-hmm.
that if y is equal to the minimum of y,
Mm-hmm.
um, we make it the value of y plus 0.25, otherwise y, not 25, something less.
Half of that, 0.125
Yeah,
maybe.
0.125. And then we want the x shifted the same way as well.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can bring this up here. So something like this. So this is a condition we're going to want to say. So it should be the x value plus some number.
Or I think, yeah. Try that again. You're missing a comma. Did you add it?
Oh, yeah. I am missing a comma.
Oh,
Much.
okay. That's a smaller number. Maybe 0.05. Yeah.
Even smaller.
Is it being reactive now? Do we need to change something in our GM circles?
Oh, you're
No?
no, we're
It's there.
modifying this. So if y is the minimum of y,
Mm-hmm.
oh, because we had subtracted. That's why. So it's like this number minus some other number is really what we're looking for. That's too much.
So that number plus some other number, right? We're
Oh,
still
yeah,
trying
you're
to
right.
shift
That
it to
number
the right.
plus some other number. You're right.
Thanks for catching that, though.
Okay. So something like that. Maybe it's too much of a plus. It's hard to tell. But...
Maybe like just 0.1.
Yeah. I don't know. Something like this.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how about we do this? Let's mimic this on the other side as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's try to deal with the yellow background.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we want to change it to black first?
Oh,
Just
yeah.
so it looks better.
Don't like the pretty red.
It's a
I
little
don't know why the
jarring.
default colors are the ugliest of the colors that you can have. I guess it's because they're the most like concentrated version, so they're not meant to be ugly. They just look that way to me. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're gonna mirror this on the other side, basically.
So
So we're gonna need to create a new. We're gonna need to create our X center +2, right?
yeah.
And then that's going to need to be something. The y's should be the same, correct?
Unless we're gonna move the minimum one up a little bit to create the same taper towards the middle.
Oh, yeah, so that it needs
yeah.
to be, you're right. So then we need a new y center +2 as well. And our radius, that can be the same.
Yeah, the radius can be the same.
Right. Okay, so maybe we can do this minus or +2. We're going to use the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we created it this way, and we just need to flip some signs, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we take the +1 and add to it, and then subtract from it.
Yeah.
And the +1,
We add to it.
add. And then what about this? Can we borrow from here?
Yeah. I think we can actually just do it exactly that way. Because the y's don't, the same transformation will be applied to the y.
Right. So really, it's almost like we could have done this and not created a new
Yes.
column, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So minus +2 are the same. Oh, yep. And let's do.
Let's see if it worked.
This. Oh, there we go.
I like it.
Yeah. So let's make this not look like ggplot2 anymore. Okay. So we can basically, in some world, what we would be doing is adding more of these to the sides,
Yeah.
so that things start to look like more tapered in and kind of circular shaped.
I also think, like, I noticed a lot of repetition in when we were like creating these and mirroring them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had more time than an hour, you could definitely sit down and find a way to make the computer do that repetition for you, instead of hard coding it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like trying to reduce some of the hard coding of the rows and maybe creating them dynamically would help. So let's now try to do something like change the background to yellow, maybe?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I'd love it if we could get like one of the shades of yellow that are precisely on the photo.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's use the digital color meter. That's my favorite thing to use on the computer. What do you think? Lighter, darker? Something like this?
I think that's a
Something
good
like
middle ground.
this?
I feel like the darker ones are kind of more pleasant to my eye. I like them, so that looks good to me.
So FFC700. So that is FFC700. And what we want to do is we want to change the plot background. I know that's from the theme in ggplot2, but let's see. Let's try to find in topic. Background. Legend background. Panel or plot background?
Should we maybe just try each of them and see what the difference is?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and for this, we have to do like element rectangle,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Anytime you're replacing elements of a theme, there are arguments like
element rect.
Element rect.
Yes.
Element rect.
And then is it background maybe? I'm not sure actually. It may also just be color. I can't remember.
Right now I'm looking in the little thing that pops up when you mouse over it when you're writing in the function, and I think it's just fill.
Oh, fill. That makes sense. Okay, so let's fill it with this.
It looks like it's giving us an outline.
Yeah.
So maybe that's usually with color, the color argument. So we can set that too.
Same.
Okay.
I have one idea. So we've done it this way, but what if we did so what was the middle values in here? So this is one. I was just thinking, can we in our plot, let's get rid of this theme. So the midpoint is 0, 0, basically, right?
Mhm.
So what if we did at 0, 0 with a radius of 1 or something, and fill with this color. So it won't be
Oh,
pumpkin shaped, but it will at least be circle shaped. But we got to put it
yeah.
behind the others and make it bigger.
So, yeah, move the layer up to the top.
Maybe 1.3.
I almost
Maybe it
think we
needs to
just need to
move a
shift
bit.
the coordinates a little bit up and to the right.
Does that look better or not?
I think it looks better.
It's like
We've
move it
made something
around, Auntie.
so very oval, and putting it inside a circle
Yeah,
is
inside
not
the
very
circle makes it look
satisfying.
very good. Yeah, yeah, you're actually right. Yeah, so we could do it this way, and in that case, I think we would want to make sure to add a color of this as well.
Yeah.
And then how about we bring this back and like pick another yellow or something.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
So maybe we get some of this like yellow, different yellows situation in here. FFDE00. So let's try that. Yeah. Or we could make
I
it black around it.
I don't know. I like the two yellows. We could look at
Yeah.
black though. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, let's give it one try. Mm, yeah, maybe the yellow is better. But if one thing I actually don't know off the top of my head, and
Mhm.
I, we don't have enough time to explore, but something, if we were going to go this yellow route, if I was trying to create something inspired by that image,
Mhm.
um, but like not necessarily trying to just recreate the whole thing, would be after completing the pumpkin. I think I would look at like how do you achieve this ombre type thing by maybe making things a bit fuzzy where
Yeah.
the colors change, because the color change is too drastic here right now. Like we want the drastic between black and yellow, but not so much between the different shades of yellow.
Mhm. I
So,
have done like a little bit of digging on gradients in ggplot, and I think there's
mm-hmm.
not a lot of functionality set up for that right now. So
Uh-huh.
the ways people were doing it on Stack Exchange was through like layering a lot of shapes. So right now I'm thinking of at the beginning when we were trying to get our circles in the right place and they were creating these kind of like
Mm-hmm.
lovely gradients.
Mm-hmm.
If you just reset that up so you have lots of circles layered on top of
Right.
each other to kind of trick the
Oh,
system to get one.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What would be the next thing you would try if you would continue from this?
Um, well, I think it would be cool to try and make like do more turn the system that we've created, make it dynamic so it's easier to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like plug and play with different
Yeah.
um variations. But I think it would look really nice to actually just be able to fit the contours of the background with whatever the dots look like. So I would probably try and kind of like either fill our circle out or
Mm-hmm.
smush the circle so it fits better because I just
Yeah.
think that would be satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think what I would try next is try to tackle this piece here, because that seems easy. So basically, draw a shape that looks somewhat like a stem, but then invert the colors. Because there it seems like black and yellow circles as opposed to the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Those circles would be really difficult to, I mean, seems like it can be more difficult to get them to look right. But there's some interesting
Yeah.
stuff. Like the more I look at it, the more I'm like, how would I go about that? But we've made
Yeah.
lots of progress from an empty canvas, and I can kind of see us like repeating this pattern, maybe after adding a few more of these strings of dots around the image. And then once you repeat them and maybe divide them by some numbers and expand them by others to create different sizes of pumpkins, we could get somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining today, Lily. And I at least will continue playing with this whenever I have time to see how much closer I can get. And if you do get close to it, let me know.
Okay, yeah, me too. It's like something I have to do now. So,
Yes, exactly. Exactly. All right. Well,
yeah,
have a good rest of your day. Thanks for
you
joining.
too. Bye.
Bye.
In this video, we worked on a generative art piece inspired by Yayoi Kusama using data we created, ggforce and ggplot2. If you enjoyed the pair programming approach and want more exercises to code along with, check out our other videos. Thank you, and we hope to see you next time.